Representative Schaeffer, I want to thank you so much for indulging us in this extensive discussion. It's, as you can tell, extremely important to the border members and I would hope to this entire body.
I think it's a sobering conversation. I don't think anybody should be happy that we're having to have a bill like this in front of the Texas House, because it shows the serious nature of what is happening. And when tens of thousands of people are dying and property is being destroyed and communities are being overrun and people are scared, quite frankly, then it requires serious conversations.
Make no mistake, we are personally advised and aware of the situation on the border. I live there, my family lives there, my friends and 250 other thousand constituents live there. So I appreciate the sincerity with which you're addressing this. But I just want to ask you some questions about how this bill, from soup to nuts, on paper it can sound one way, but sometimes we actually don't understand how physically things are going to play out. So if you would help me paint this picture for what exactly it's going to look like, for example, for the residents of Cameron County, where do you envision this border protection unit actually setting up post in Cameron County?
Well, I think the bill calls, I don't think I know the bill calls for the headquarters to be in the border region. And the bill calls on the department to recruit, to the greatest extent possible, people that live in the border region. So I think the officers and non-commissioned officers that you will see will hopefully be people from the community who aren't living in hotels but are living in homes because they either rent or have a mortgage, maybe have their children in the community, and are there to protect the community, and will be positioned along the river in a way to protect the community.
So it's your vision that this unit will only set up along the river, so to speak?
The focus of this operation would be the border region.
So do you envision border protection units, for example, setting up in Cameron Park, a highly Hispanic neighborhood in my district?
I don't have any specific location like a park or anything like that in mind. We're looking at over a 1,200-mile border, and we will leave the deployment of these personnel to the officers in charge.
So the way your bill's written, they are not exclusively required to set up by the river, are they?
Those directions will be made by the officers in charge.
And I guess I'm asking, what is to stop those in charge from sending unit officers to set up posts in Hispanic neighborhoods?
See, I think what you're trying to do with your question is to scare people. But I think what we really need to be focused on is rather than hypotheticals that are extreme, we need to be focused on what's actually happening. People are dying from fentanyl at an alarming rate. When I came into the legislature in 2013, CBP reported that they caught 2 pounds of fentanyl. In 2022, they caught 10,000 pounds. People are dying. And
Mr.
so while
Schaeffer,
it may get headlines and it may stir up political passions to throw out extreme hypotheticals, it doesn't get at what the problem really is that the cartels are pumping poison into our communities. And we've got to find a way to bring order and security to our communities so those people in the parks don't have to worry about their child getting some candy that turns out to be laced with fentanyl and kills them. That is what we need to be concerned about.
Respectfully, Mr. Schaeffer, I'm not sure about what about my question stirred passions. I simply asked, what is to prohibit or stop a border protection unit from setting up their post in Hispanic neighborhoods?
Representative, you're going to be focused on the cartel activity,
I'm focused on my
illegal
community,
activity along the river. If you read the bill, that's the focus, okay? We simply don't have the personnel or the numbers to just be going and setting up out in neighborhoods, okay? The idea is you go where the issue is, and that will be left to the officers in charge who are going to be trained and who are going to be working with local law enforcement. If you will read the bill and the section where it talks about the strategic plan and the coordination and the planning with local law enforcement, The goal of this bill is to coordinate with local law enforcement, to unify the mission, to understand what's going on at the local level.
And respectfully, Mr. Schaeffer, I have read your bill, and I guess that's why I'm asking. I didn't see anything in your bill that prohibited these units from setting up posts in Hispanic neighborhoods, of which my constituency consists primarily of. So then I guess since you can't answer that, my second question would be, what type of probable cause, if any, do your Border Protection Unit officers require to stop someone?
They must comply with the laws of the state of Texas and the United States.
So is it your understanding then that they would require probable cause to pull someone over and ask their status?
They're not going to be able to make any kind of an unlawful detention.
Border Protection Unit officers are not going to be able to make any sort of lawful detention?
Unlawful. They're going to follow the law. If it requires probable cause, then that's the standard they will meet.
Okay, so they will require probable cause. Are you aware that when an immigrant, for example, is detained by, for example, Customs and Border Protection, Border Patrol, that they are entitled to a credible fear review hearing, what you might refer to as a deportation hearing? Is your bill, the way it's written, going to deny that due process hearing to individuals?
The bill is going to focus on the river, and they will follow the laws, federal immigration laws, and the laws of the Constitution. And whatever process is required, they will be given.
So then it is your understanding, because the way the bill's written, forgive me, it states they can detain and deter. It does not state deter and provide them with a due process review hearing. So it is your vision that they are entitled to this due process credible fear hearing?
We're going to leave whatever process is based on whatever that individual is required under the laws of the United States Constitution will be given.
Okay, so then I can take that away, that they will be entitled to that deportation hearing. Mr. Schaeffer, how will your Border Protection Unit determine who in fact is a trespasser in the state of Texas versus a non-trespasser in the state of Texas?
A trespass charge requires that the elements of the trespass statute be followed. So you have to have a person who's going to...
The gentleman's time has expired.
Mr. Speaker?
Ms. Gamez, for what purpose?
I'd like to move to extend the gentleman's time.
Members, you've heard the motion. Is there objection? There is objection. Members vote aye, vote nay. Division vote. Strike the board. The motion fails.